Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons, where you can sign up to be a member of the Shannons Club, your local Holden certified service centre, Pace Farm the enjoyable egg, and Heron Forbes Machinery House, where you can buy online. G'day, I'm Fletch and welcome as I bring you back to Invercargill, New Zealand to feature the largest motorcycle museum in the Southern Hemisphere. So get ready to take in some of the Classic Motorcycle Mecca in this week's episode of Classic Restos. The Motorcycle Mecca appeared briefly as a quick overview on Classic Restos back in 2023. This episode is going to show you more. And before we go any further, here is just something about the incredible building where this Motorcycle Mecca now resides. Located on Tay Street, Invercargill, Motorcycle Mecca is located within two buildings. The first building was a sporting goods store, H&J's Outdoor World, before becoming Motorcycle Mecca, and this building was built in 1869. The second building adjoining the old Outdoor World building was a nightclub before becoming Motorcycle Mecca, and a hardware store before that. This building is made up of two buildings within the one on Tay Street being built around 1900 and the addition on Wood Street around the mid-1950s. HCL Henderson Construction Limited have been building contractors here in Invercargill since 1970 and have done an absolutely outstanding job on the makeover of this building and helping its preservation of one of Invercargill's finest originals. And furthermore, this building initiative reflects further development of the Invercargill CBD. There's connecting flights to the cities from Invercargill, and it's only a short drive to Milford Sound and Queenstown. When you walk into a place like this, the brickwork that's over 150 years old surrounds you with its own feel. Places like these make for amazing cafes, restaurants, and even a microbrewery, but not this time. This is full of classic bikes on show for the world to come and see. And what an amazing place to be, this be Classic Motorcycle Mecca here in Invercargill in New Zealand. How are you, Malcolm?
Very good, thank you, Fletch.
That's the way you've got a pretty cool job here.
It's an interesting job.
Now, Malcolm, the growth of the collection, where did it all start and how did it begin?
It was basically started by a chap in Nelson who started off with one bike and thought this was pretty cool and continued to collect for 2 or 3 years until he had around 300 bikes. After that, he fell ill and it looked like the collection had to be sold and split up. Scott and Joss took a look and, as Joss said, had a rush of blood and decided to purchase the collection as a all but complete collection.
That's an amazing story. And on that note too, Joss O'Donnell does a wonderful job with Bill Richardson Transport World and the Motorcycle Mecca being an integral part of that collection as well, but a little more on that later. So Malcolm, with this building, there's stories here even about the building itself. Used to be a nightclub, a hardware store. We're talking 3 levels here. It's a fantastic classic here in Invercargill, isn't it?
Yes, it is. The whole block really is a number of buildings similar to this, and for them to be retained is great, especially for a collection like this.
When we walk through the door, what brands, what models, makes can we expect to see here at the Mecca?
Where would you like to start? There are so many different makes and models. But the predominant ones really, I suppose, are Brough Superior, Vincent, Velocette. I always say Velocette because I'm a Velocette fan. Obviously British, European. We have a number of Japanese bikes down below, speedway bikes, race bikes. They're all there.
Well, they don't call it the Mecca for nothing. The largest motorcycle museum in the southern hemisphere. And what an accolade for Invercargill.
Certainly is. It's a huge attraction here, and with the likes of Bert Munro coming up in a couple of weeks' time, the place is always very, very busy.
And keep in mind too, Bert Munro Challenge every February, right? They've moved the date.
Yes, moved it from November to February because our weather played havoc.
What's there not to love about Invercargill down in the deep south of New Zealand? I love the place, I always have. Originally hooked on Invercargill from the Roger Donaldson film, The World's Fastest Indian. And this guy beside me here, Bert Munro, I was absolutely captivated when I first saw the release of that movie in 2005. And since then, around about 7 or 8 times I've been to Invercargill now. Invercargill here in the deep south is such an interesting place. It really is on its own, and it just has to be one of your go-to destinations. Even the weather system here, you can have 4 or 5 seasons in one day, which keeps things incredibly interesting. The streets are wide, it's full of historic buildings. It's home to around about 50,000 people for the region. The hotels, the motels, the pubs, the restaurants, the people will just make your visiting experience one to remember. This is the Classic Motorcycle Mecca here in Invercargill, New Zealand. And you're seeing it first on Classic Restos. Back with more right after this.
I've been a motoring enthusiast all my life. My Coupe 4 is rare and very special. A real performance car with all-wheel drive grip. I'm not a car club bloke and I don't work on it myself, but I do have a great mechanic. One day, I might even get that HQ. When it comes to insurance, it's got to be Shannons.
Shannons shares your passion. Call Shannons on 13 46 46. Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
When it comes to cars, there are some brands that will remain with us forever, no matter what. The Holden was always Australia's own car, held high in the hearts of many. Those lines, that chrome, the stories around them, and the people that owned them. From the classic through to the final, you can still trust in genuine Holden and AC Delco parts, available through the Holden Certified Service Network. In 2024, why not consider a Detroit tour with Fletch? Detroit, the automotive epicenter. It will leave you gobsmacked. Imagine experiencing where automotive history on a grand scale began. Stay in fine accommodation, taking in some of the best museums and private car collections on the planet. Book your 2024 Detroit tour with Fletch. Email fletchtours@mail.com. Yes, and of course this place has a downstairs. It's time now for the George Begg bunker. Malcolm, down here, this could be the total museum. You could go to another place and this is it, and it'd be sufficient.
We're fortunate enough to have 3 floors, this being the bottom floor, which contains the range of Japanese motorcycles you can see. Out the back, we have a number of sidecars with an area all for themselves. And next door, there's some race cars, most of them manufactured by George Begg.
This is amazing. What an awesome basement. Imagine having this at your house. This is just incredible. And on that note, the significance of George Begg. Just give us a rundown there, Malcolm.
George Begg was a guy who started life out here in Southland, born in Balclutha. He was a talented engineer, had his own workshop in Drummond, raced motorcycles, and also got into building farm implements and progressed to building race cars, Formula 5000, extremely well built and very quick.
That's one thing about the history of Invercargill. There were a lot of talented people here, weren't there? It's just that our Bert Munro, he was lucky enough, I guess, to score the movie profile.
Exactly. And to come up with the idea for the movie was great, considering it was a number of years prior that he actually achieved what he did achieve.
And pre-runs too, apart from the Indian, Bert doing very well on the Velocette, of course, as well.
Yes, I once observed him at the beach here at Ready Beach, stropping up and down there at great speeds.
You saw Bert?
Yes, I did.
What was that like?
It was interesting, in the fact that at that stage he was quite elderly, but still brave enough to get on the machine and go quick.
What was his profile like at that point?
Not particularly great, really. He was just Bert, isn't he?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. As his son John Munro, a lot of us know John. He's a classic guy as well, and he'll just allude to the fact that some people just thought that his dad was just a silly old bugger that rode a motorcycle.
That's correct.
This incredible motorcycle mecca would not have been made possible without the involvement of two prominent people. The daughter of the late Bill Richardson and her husband Scott had the initiative to purchase a bike collection from Tom Sturgis, comprising over 300 classic bikes. What we see here today, standing proud. Making our way through. In the early 2000s, an executive producer by the name of Roger Donaldson stumbled upon the story of Bert Munro. It's only befitting, Malcolm, to have a tribute here at the Mecca for Bert.
Indeed, and it is a pleasure to house what we have here as well.
I'm very taken by Bert Munro, and I know thousands of other people are as well. The abilities of a man in his backyard with basic equipment to come up with incredible results with his bikes. How he got a 20s Indian Scout to the RPM levels to make a speed of over 200 miles an hour is beyond, I think, most people, but he did it. And it's an extremely fantastic story. It's a very an overwhelming, a heart-moving story when you watch the world's fastest Indian.
Yes, it is, and worldwide too. It's not just here. I'm sure the whole world enjoyed it, and the way he did go about his business, starting with very little and being able to put something like that together and make it happen is pretty amazing.
Here at the Mecca, we have this section here. We've got the air streaming there that went around Bert's bike, and of course the backdrop of Ready Beach, which to me, I don't know, there's something about Ready Beach. For the road just to run out and you just drive onto the beach. Not many places you can do that.
No, that's dead right. It is great to have that there, and I can recall as a teenager driving out that same bit of road and onto the beach to watch Bert on his bike.
Now, Malcolm, on the other side of the Besser block wall there, how surreal is that? Behind the perspex, some original stuff that belonged to Bert.
Indeed, just sort of shows his living quarters, if you might like to call them that.
Yeah. He had one high-tech piece of equipment there. He had a lathe.
And that lathe he used a lot, indeed, yeah.
Bits and pieces from the movie there, Malcolm, as well, and the cabin baggage, the actual bag that he used to have on board the ship going backwards and forwards to the United States. I think cabin 60K with a marker pen just written on the side of the bag there. That's kind of cool.
Yes, and he'd be happy with that because he didn't go to a lot of trouble with anything else apart from making the motorcycle go fast.
And the recognition to champions continues. This is the Motorcycle Mecca in Invercargill, New Zealand. Back with more right after this.
When I was a kid, I loved cars, still do. The 57 Cadillac Eldorado Brough was the most advanced car in the world. Cost more than a Rolls. Hand-built with a stainless steel roof, cruise control, electric seats, and would you believe, air suspension. American iron. It's a passion Shannons understand. That's why they insure my daily drive, the caddy, my bike, even the house.
Call Shannons on 13 46 46. Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
They may not be making the classic Holden anymore, but the legacy lives on. You can still have a Holden certified service using genuine Holden and AC Delco quality parts at over 180 centres across Australia. Go to holden.com.au to find your nearest centre. Book your Holden in, maintain the pride. Have some classic bikes? Well, they have to be insured with Shannons. Want to pick up the phone and give Shannons a call for a quote and a chat on 134646. The Shannons Club awaits you. It's never been easier to sign up and become a member of Australia's largest automotive online hub. For more information, visit shannons.com.au. We're upstairs. Actually, before you were upstairs, do we go any higher? There's not another floor, is there, Malcolm?
No, there's nothing more beyond this one, apart from at the moment rain.
Mate, we've gone from the vault, I don't know, I think we're on about floor 17 here now in this old building. This is the Vincent collection. What can you tell us about this here, Malcolm?
We currently have 7 Vincents, most of them behind us. There's one through the door that you entered with a sidecar. There's also in the room next door a 2007 model that was assembled by the Vincent Owners Club in the UK with parts from the Vintage Owners Club, so it's brand new. The collection behind us is a range of Vincents, 1000cc and 500cc, and one of each really.
And what's the go here, Malcolm? Are all these bikes purchased outright for the museum, or are some on consignment?
There are some on consignment. Certainly the majority belongs to the museum itself, but there are some on consignment.
Malcolm, here in the Brough section, now from what I believe, I've got to be very much educated here with the Broughs, but apparently up in the category of almost like what the Duesenberg motor car used to be like in the upper echelon back in the 20s and 30s. Tell us more about these.
These are right up there as far as motorcycles go. They are particularly fancy and very, very sought after. Interesting, and during the years they were made with a range of engines, Brough Superior of course, Matchless and JAP. You could have, I think, pretty much whatever you wanted as far as engines go.
Country of origin?
They're British.
Yep. This is the thing when I do a bike episode, and never professing to be a rider, but in full support of those who do, and I'll let the rider tell the story about the bike. And to me, these are just art, and you can see how elaborate they are. And to have ridden one of these back in the day, goodness me, you would have been certainly doing well. Your pay packet was possibly a little bit more on the high side.
I think you'd need to be very friendly with your bank manager back in the day. Anyway.
Bank manager could have had one.
He could have, maybe.
Time now for the John Britten exhibit. Very nicely done as well, Malcolm.
It is, and to have its own area set up, showing 3-4 of his bikes here, plus the video next door is great. John was a very, very clever man who enjoyed his motorcycle racing, but he did things before that too. He's restored Model T camper van, made a beautiful job of that. As far as motorcycle racing went, he started with this Triumph Tiger here behind us and thought it was great and thought he could do bigger and better things, and he certainly achieved that by building some of these bikes that we see around us. It's just amazing to start from nothing and build it and improve as the models went on until we end up with this.
What a legend, John Britten. Born in 1950 and sadly left us at the young age of just 45 in 1995. John will always leave a legacy in the racing bike fraternity and a little showcased here at the Classic Motorcycle Mecca in Invercargill. Well, on that note, Malcolm, it's been absolutely wonderful spending time with you today, and I hope you've had a good day today. Have you?
I have indeed. It's been a pleasure having you here and being involved. It's great.
Well, we couldn't have done the episode without you, and again, it's an incredible accolade to Scott and Joss O'Donnell and the whole team here. The Motorcycle Mecca being a part, an integral part of the Bill Richardson transport world here in Invercargill, and there's always something different down the track about to happen as well. The company is very proactive. They don't sit idle for too long, do they? They've always got a project, another one coming.
There's always something on the go. Yeah. And some quite bizarre ideas from time to time, but no, they make it happen.
Well, stay tuned and we'll bring it to you on Classic Restos. Okay, Malcolm, again, thank you very much. I appreciate your time, sir. It's been wonderful.
Been a pleasure.
I'm very pleased with the association that has evolved between myself and the Bill Richardson Transport World Group. Everything that Joss O'Donnell and the team does here in Invercargill, the attention to detail and everything they set out to achieve, no stone is unturned with the attention to detail as to what they do. Everything's just done to perfection. They do an incredible job. The Classic Motorcycle Mecca in Tay Street is just absolutely amazing. As soon as you walk through the doors, there's an energy there that just reaches out and grabs you. A building that was made in 1869 and it's had some makeovers since then, but original brickwork and the beautiful timber work. You walk through the door, you've got a cafe there. It's the warmth, again, it's this southern hospitality that it makes you want to keep on coming back. Invercargill is infectious like that. I first came here over a decade ago, and when you leave, you kind of feel good because you know you'll be back. And that's the special thing of Invercargill. It's the place, it's the people, it's the environment. It's winding the clock back to 1990. There's no hustle and bustle here. The people are more easygoing. The food is organic. You'll have the best bacon and eggs for breakfast you'll ever have anywhere in the world. And you can see that, the quality of the food. The list goes on and on and on. If you can make it to Invercargill, or you're looking for a destination in New Zealand to go, make sure this place is on your list. And in closing of today's episode, I just had to bring you back to Areti Beach, where 4 or 5 seasons in one day, not a problem. The weather here is phenomenal, but that's what keeps things interesting. This week's episode has featured the Classic Motorcycle Mecca in Invercargill, New Zealand, and I hope that you enjoyed it. As I say at the end of every episode, until next week, no matter where you're watching Classic Restos from, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch, and if the great man himself, Bert Munro, was still with us today, I'm sure he would say, thanks for watching. You can like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/ClassicRestosTV and watch catch-up episodes at shannons.com.au. Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons, where you can sign up to be a member of the Shannons Club, your local Holden certified service centre, Pace Farm the enjoyable egg, and Heron Forbes Machinery House, where you can buy online.